how can you justify ethnically cleansing 800,000 people?
Israel have the power to flatten Gaza in 1 hour. But Israel is fighting according to the international law.
Have you seen pictures of Gaza City? Have you seen pictures of Khan Yunis? Have you seen pictures of Deir al-Balah? They're destroyed. They're gone. You don't believe anyone. You don't believe the World Court. You don't believe the ICC.
War killing people.
Can you just describe a bit of your backstory? You're growing up in Israel. You served in the military for 28 years, I think. Well, why did you join the military, and what did you see when you were on the inside?
I had no choice. It's compulsory to join the army in Israel if you are healthy. And of course, you pass the test when you are 17 already, and while in the high school. So then it's compulsory to join for 3 years. It's not compulsory to join to a commando unit like I did, but you have to serve 3 years, even if you are not so well, not very healthy, but they will give you some admin work to do. You must serve 3 years. Girls serve 2 years. So I had to join from 1975 to 1979-8 for those 3 years. When I completed those 3 years, we were called twice a year as a reserves. We had to do reserve, to serve mainly in Gaza, but also in the north, sometimes in the north, in Lebanon, South Lebanon. There was a lot of problems there. War between the Shia and the Sunni. And of course, it affected Israel because the PLO was based in South Lebanon after they were asked to leave, not nicely, by Jordan, King Hussein, who, that's why they call September, the Black September, called after that day when Hussein asked PLO to leave. They didn't have anywhere else to go, so they settled in South Lebanon. And that's where the problems that we face today started.
But when you were serving in the Israeli military, did that not open your eyes to the reality of life for Palestinians? Because you were operating with a gun in communities that were Palestinian, and some people have gone through that experience and come out the other side thinking, well, this project is not in alliance with human rights.
Okay.
Why did you come out being more of a Zionist, more pro-Israel?
Okay, I wasn't pro-Israel when I served those 3 years. I didn't see any political side. I didn't even see the history background, like I know today as a historian. All my focus was to protect and protect. Myself, my family, children, who were constantly bombed in the kibbutzim near Gaza and South Lebanon, which is Metula, Kiryat Shmona, and the rest. And I saw many deaths. I saw children in blood in those kibbutzes. In 1977, mainly, 77 and half of 78, we were called every week to those places that were bombed or terrorized by those PLO who penetrate Israel from the north and kill children, babies. I will never forget those images, never. So I didn't see any politics, I didn't see anything else. I saw myself protecting myself, my family, and those children. Now, to your first part of your question. When I served, when you say I served with a gun, I had a gun. But because I speak Arabic fluently, I made a lot of friends in Gaza, mainly in Gaza, which we kept in touch for about 25 years, including some of them during this war. My dentist was in Gaza, and I'm talking now after I finished the army, when I became a reservist, and I became a journalist. So my first topic to cover is, of course, the wars because of my background, my military background. But then I find myself traveling to Gaza and the West Bank often, nearly every day. And I made a lot of friends. My dentist was in Gaza. I bought vegetables and fruit in Gaza. I fixed my car. In those days, we couldn't afford to buy a new car. I fixed my car in Gaza. I bought a sofa to my sister when she got married in Gaza. And Saeed, I hope he's watching because he was in a documentary just last year. Saeed, Sahlan Saeed, He is my best friend, and he still lives in Gaza. He is my age. He's married with 5 children. We kept in touch. And he introduced me to many others. Now, the peak of that was, I went to a wedding in Gaza, which is something unheard of. Wedding took place at night. You don't go at night in Gaza, not armed. I wasn't armed, but I trusted these people who invite me for their wedding. I also took advantage of one fact because I learned the culture of the Muslim people, that if you are a guest, nobody will touch you. And I took a risk and I went to that wedding until midnight. Midnight, I drove back to Israel. So here you are. I am there making friends. Twice a year, unfortunately, I have to serve as a reservist and visit them with a gun. But I didn't shoot with that gun. I had coffee with them. I had cake and baklava with them.
So why do you need Israel then? Why not have one state? If the situation at that point, even then, was they were welcoming you, and you can live alongside it, that Jews, Muslims, Arabs, they're not enemies, and why do you need to have an ethno-state where you have to have a Jewish majority? Why can't you have a democratic state where Jews, Muslims, Arabs live alongside each other?
We have it.
Is that not the problem?
We have it. If you go to if you visit, you see the facts. In Israel, there are 2 million Muslims and Christians. We call them Arabs. I'm not counting the Druze and the Bedouins. I'm talking about Arabs, Christians, and Muslims. 2 million live in Israel. Full equality. They have businesses, shops. They are lawyers, nurses, doctors. One of them is a Supreme Court judge in Israel. 17 of them are members of the Knesset in Israel. Full rights when they talk about apartheid. There's no apartheid in Israel. There are full rights of people. There are even mixed marriage. I was invited to one of them. One of the girls that was with me at the university at the time from Akka, she married a Jewish guy. And I went to that wedding, and there was Jewish people, Christians, Muslims celebrating, dancing together. It's happening in Israel since 1947. Now, those 2 million, by the way, who are the people who didn't flee Palestine during the Nakba. And what is the Nakba? The Nakba in 47, in 48, when Israel was declared, Egypt and Jordan and others attacked Israel, and they started the war. The first war started then. King Farouk of Egypt, who led that war, promised those Palestinians in Palestine, who are now in Gaza, don't worry, you go to Gaza for temporary accommodation. We will wipe the Jews from Palestine and you can come back to your homes. It didn't happen. They lost the war.
But how can you justify ethnically cleansing 800,000 people from...
It's not ethnic cleansing.
Of course it is.
It's not.
Why did they leave?
Because...
What was the Nakba?
That's exactly what I'm explaining. 2 million didn't leave, and they are in Israel today.
Yeah, but they had to stay a permanent minority.
No, hold on.
They do, but that's, you accept that they might be able to stay, but they can't outbreed the Jewish population, because if they do, Zionism, the Zionist state won't exist. But do you accept that?
When you say,
do you accept that they have to be a permanent minority?
When you say ethnic cleansing, it means that you are going there on purpose, killing and cleansing. It didn't happen. Israel was attacked. Israel had to defend itself, and the civilians who were there were not touched by the Israeli army.
So have you ever read the book called...
what is the cleansing?
Have you read the book by Elon Perry called The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine?
Elon Perry...
Is that a lie?
Elon Perry...
Israeli historian.
Elon Perry, if I can be careful with my words, if he was active in 1947-46 during the underground units, he will be assassinated. He will be called a traitor.
But regardless of that, his history, do you say that his whole book, he's a respected historian, he's at the University of Exeter, he's a very established historian. Do you think that his book is a lie?
It's not a lie.
But then you accept that there was an ethnic cleansing of Palestine to make way for Israel?
I'll tell you what is his motive, because I met him. And I hope he's watching, because I want him to come and deny what I'm saying now. He wanted to promote his book. To promote your book, you have to gain the sympathy of others, not the Jewish people and the Israelis. And he wanted to gain sympathy to promote his book, to sell more. That was the only motive he had, because the facts, I read that book, because the facts that he brought in that book were exaggerated. Because the bottom line of it is, did Israel conduct cleansing on purpose? No. Israel wanted to protect itself. It was attacked. They went to war. What the civilians decided to do, whether to leave or stay, it's their problem, it's their decision. Israel didn't go with a gun and say, hey, leave.
No,
they didn't do
did.
it.
It's come out subsequently. There's been a lot of stuff in the Israeli press in
No.
Haaretz from the declassified files.
You see, the problem that Israel is facing, that Israel is a democracy country. Because if it wasn't a real democracy country, those people like Haaretz and Elon Perry will be long ago in jail or somewhere else, like Putin will do.
Because power doesn't like the truth.
No,
And the
it's
truth
not.
is, of course it is.
On the contrary.
Well,
Israel,
regardless, do you accept that 800,000 Palestinians left Palestine?
not 800, no.
How many?
213,000 altogether from the West Bank and from Palestine, including the West Bank later on. But from Israel itself, Palestine itself called in those days, there was barely 200,000.
So where did
Because
so you're saying there's 2 million now?
Hold on.
Where did the rest of them go then?
Okay, I will answer that. 200,000, even less. And the majority stayed, which are the 2 million today. And they stayed. So now tell me, if they managed to stay, that's why you are confused. 800,000 managed to stay, decide to stay. If they stayed, and you are saying that they were cleansing, so how come those 800,000 still alive?
No, 800,000 were driven out.
No. It's 213,000.
Well, but anyway.
So the rest of...
But you think those 213,000 left of their own accord? They weren't told to leave by a gun. They weren't incentivized to leave because they were massacring villages. Have you heard of Deir Yassin?
Deir Yassin.
Yeah, what happened
Deir
there?
Yassin was the best example that I can tell you that it wasn't a massacre that was done on purpose. It was a mistake, and it's admitted in many other material that you can read in Hebrew if you can. It was admitted it was a mistake by one of the commanders. And the platoon that was there was attacked, but it's a long story. There is a lot of details there. Israel admitted it was wrong.
Can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
So if the goal wasn't ethnic cleansing, how did the Zionists think they were going to build a state that had a Jewish majority, which is fundamental to Zionism?
Yeah.
So how can you build a Jewish state which is fundamental to Zionism without driving out the indigenous population?
What
was their plan?
Let's define Zionism first. Zionism ideal is not to have a majority Jewish state, a state with majority, with Jewish to be the majority. No.
I think it is.
Zionism idea, the core of the idea is to allow any Jewish person on earth to arrive and live in Israel, in the Jewish state, because of the 2,000 years of pogroms, and the peak was the Holocaust. That's the Zionism. There's not mentioned one word to say that the majority must be Jewish people.
But so you think now, they call it a demographic threat, don't they, in Israel, that the Arabs might outbreed the Jewish population? They call it a demographic threat. So they have to say...
No. Because if they will do...
You think the Israeli establishment would allow an Arab or Muslim majority in Israel?
It's not up to them to allow. How can you allow it? It's happening naturally because the Arabs bring 10, 5, 7 children to the world.
But then why not just let the Palestinians back that were kicked out?
Okay, that's...
Why not let all the West Bank and Gaza in then if it doesn't matter? Because they know then the Jewish wouldn't be the supreme...
You want to allow the West Bank residents to arrive inside Palestine?
Well,
Why? They never lived there before.
A lot of them have. A lot of their relatives have.
No, relatives are different. And that's the problem with the right to return. That's why it's so complicated to implement the right to return idea, because of those people who are died already. And by the way, many of those who fled that area, they live happily in America, in Germany, in Britain, in Australia, many other countries, and they don't have any wish to come back to Palestine because they live in peace in those places. They have their prosperity, they have businesses. West Bank. I visited the West Bank many, many times, and I spoke to locals. They are happy. They have Christmas, they have...
That's a lie. I've been there myself twice.
Okay,
they're not happy. They live under an apartheid system. They do. And can you justify how any Jewish person can go and live in Israel, which they have no connection to, and yet the refugees and the descendants of the refugees that were kicked out in 1948 and 1967 cannot return? How do you justify that? And you can say, I imagine you'll say, well, the Jewish people live there 2,000, 3,000 years ago.
No, I'm not saying that.
So how do you justify
I'm not going to say what the politicians say, okay? I'm not going to talk as a historian either. I'm telling you, I myself witnessed many, many cases of those who wished to come back, and they did. Because I met their lawyers. I met the member of the Knesset who was Arab, who helped that, and he asked me to come and interview him for something else, and we spoke about it. There is many, many who came back, who applied to come back to Jaffa and Haifa and Akka over the past 40 years.
So there is a right of return then?
There is a right of return, but not as politicians describe it, because the way
what program is this?
It's complicated.
Is it closed now or is it open?
There's no program. You apply, you want to come back, and you prove that your parents were born in Jaffa in such and such address. And they came back and they are living there.
Because when I went to the West Bank, many of the Palestinians I met had never been outside the West Bank because they're never granted a permit. They have to get a permit even to go into East Jerusalem. I mean, these are people I met.
Okay.
So I've not heard about this program where...
Okay. You understand where the West Bank is in the map, right?
Yeah.
It's surrounded, it's bordered with Israel, right?
Yeah.
What else it's bordered with?
Jordan.
They can't go through Jordan?
But you know that's because Israel...
They need the permission to go to Jordan?
Well, Israel controls the whole of the Jordan
Valley.
Don't control. They do. They control the checkpoints.
No.
If you want to go into the West Bank from Jordan, you have to go through Israeli checkpoints.
There is one bridge called Allenby
exactly,
Bridge.
which the Israelis control. They control the whole of the Jordan Valley.
Matt.
That's it.
You start sounding like Roger Waters. Matt.
But that's true.
Matt, there is no problem for anybody from the West Bank to travel to Egypt, to Jordan, to Qatar, and they do it. A lot of students, they do. There's
of course.
Thousands of students.
But what I'm saying is that Israelis have people there. Do you accept that?
What do you mean Israelis? There is checkpoint.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not run by the Palestinians.
In Belfast, there is a checkpoint. Everywhere. In Germany.
No, but what I'm saying, to get in and out, you have to go through Israeli passport control.
You don't have to go. You don't have to have permission to visit Jordan from the West Bank, period.
But do you have to speak to an Israeli soldier to leave?
What do you mean to speak? Say hello.
No, but do you? Do you accept that?
No, you don't need to.
So you don't see an Israeli on the way out?
Matt.
That's a question.
Matt, when you go to visit between, I don't know if you did it, I drove between Holland and Belgium, between Holland and Italy, all those places, you stop on a checkpoint.
Yes.
And sometimes for 10 minutes, I remember.
Yeah.
They ask you questions, they check you and everything. Everywhere it's done.
Yeah.
It's done for security, for smuggling drugs.
That's fine. I accept all that. But you accept that you have to go through Israeli security. You do accept that.
So who else?
But that's what I'm saying. So then Israel does control it.
No, there is also...
But Israel has the right to say no. It's not Palestinian controlled.
Hold on. The checkpoint is both sides.
Yes,
there is Jordanians and Israelis.
Exactly.
Israel checks those who arrive
But
back.
Where's the Israeli checkpoint? It's in Palestine, isn't it? It's in the West Bank. Why are they controlling security in the West Bank? I thought that is that not a occupying power then?
Okay.
Why doesn't the Palestinians control their own border?
The Palestinians?
Yeah.
They do.
No, you
But
just
they
said that the Israelis
but
are
they
there.
don't stop the terror from coming in.
Okay, so we've now accepted.
That's why they build
So
those
we've now
walls.
accepted that Israel controls all entry into Palestine, even in quote unquote Palestine in the West Bank, and we've accepted that they do that because you say Palestinians let in terrorists. But what that describes is a situation where Palestinians are under the complete control of Israelis and the Israeli
For
state.
fun.
Huh?
So Israel does it for fun.
I'm not saying they're doing it for fun. I'm not debating why they're doing it.
You know how much?
They're doing it because they control Palestine and they won't let go.
For fun.
No, because
You
they're
know
a
how many?
colonial power.
You know how many millions it cost to Israel to do that? Why would Israel spend $20 million a month for that security measure? For fun? To abuse people? That's not the Jewish spirit. We don't abuse people. People given the chance to live aside Israel in 1947. When Ben-Gurion declared the state in 1948, he called upon the Arabs to come and live with the Jews in Palestine. He didn't attend to, but actually he was declaring the two-state solution back in those days that we hear it today. Arabs rejected it. And
but what group of countries are going to accept the imposition of a Western colony in the middle of their region? No one. It's not outrageous. Would Israel accept if Saudi Arabia decided they want to put a colony in Israel? Would the Israelis accept it?
What's got to do with?
Well, I'm saying, you're saying that the Arabs rejected it. Of course they rejected it.
What do you mean, of course? Why, of course?
Well, if I'm in the UK.
It was.
I'm in the UK. If a group of Muslim nationalists said we want to put a Muslim state in the middle of the UK.
But you're missing one point.
Would you think we'd accept it?
You're missing one point.
What's that?
It was done by the United Nations by vote.
No, the UN Partition Plan of 1947 was rejected.
Rejected by whom?
By the Arabs.
By the minority.
But what I'm saying is, of course they did.
Yeah, but the majority didn't reject that, and it passed democratic way, and the Jewish people start arriving in Palestine, approved by the British who ruled Palestine in those days,
Right.
supported by King George V, and the Balfour Declaration back in 1917.
Yes.
The Jews didn't do anything wrong.
No,
When
it's
you
not
give
about the
example-
Jews. It's that
when
there
you
were
give-
many Jews who are against Zionism, by the way. Not all Jews are Zionists. So it's wrong to conflate those two things.
You don't have to be a Zionist if you are prosecuted and killed and murdered day and night when you are in Europe or somewhere in
Right,
those
not
countries.
in-
You need to be protected, and the only place
Okay.
they feel protected is in Israel.
Yeah, well, why not put Israel in Germany? They're the ones that did the Holocaust. Why put it in Palestine? Palestinians had nothing to do with the Holocaust. Why are Palestinians made to suffer for the historical European persecution of Jews?
Palestinians don't
Answer that
suffer.
question.
They're
Answer
not
that question.
suffering.
Of course, you're saying
You
Palestinians
hear
aren't
the news.
suffering. There's a genocide going on in Gaza right now. Why are you looking like that? So South Africa, which has been joined by Spain and other countries, has a case at the World Court.
Describe me genocide.
Huh?
Describe genocide.
The targeted wiping out of a certain ethnic
On
group.
purpose.
Yes.
Okay. Go back to 7 October.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10 October. If Israel want to do that genocide, Israel have the power to wipe Gaza in 6 hours.
Yeah.
I've been there, I know.
They've done it.
They didn't.
They destroyed every single university, every single hospital.
When I hear those demonstrations, I call them fake, because Putin does worse. Putin will do that if he
Putin's
was
crimes
attacked.
in Ukraine are real, but they're nothing compared to what Israel has
so
done in Gaza.
let's go back to genocide. Okay. You describe genocide the way we understand it, right? That you go by force and you kill civilians on purpose, right? Mm. So I'm saying to you, if Israel wanted to do that genocide,
they do.
Can you understand the point I'm making?
They could have done it before, yes. But
now,
your argument is they could have done it before, but they're doing it now. So it doesn't make much sense to me. Obviously, October 7th was.
Can I just finish my point for the viewers?
Yeah.
Use your sense, viewer. If Israel wanted to conduct that genocide, they could. They had, by the way, they had the right. It's questionable. when you are attacked massively, ground and by rockets, Israel could use the atomic bomb. Israel didn't. Any other nation will use the atomic bomb in that situation. When you are attacked, you have the right to use it. Israel didn't. Not only didn't use the atomic bomb because it will kill other civilians and genocide, Israel didn't go to react immediately. It took her 3 weeks for the ground incursion to happen. And even so, when they did the ground incursion, I was there in the border. I flew to Israel 2 days after 7 October, and I was there to get updated, and I saw Israeli soldiers got killed because they didn't shoot in situations that they saw children and women. 2 of my relatives, one nephew and the other, got killed in a situation where 11 soldiers were killed because they didn't go to raid the house that were the school that there were children sheltering there and women, and many, many other situations. Israel is fighting according to there are mistakes. Israel fighting according to the international law, but there are mistakes.
They're not fighting.
But there are mistakes, and those mistakes are emphasized by the media because of the hatred against
mistakes.
Israel.
They are Israel is being investigated by the World Court, the highest court in the world, for genocide. You know that.
Yeah.
Who brought that case? Who brought that case?
And they found them guilty?
So, it hasn't come yet. Do you know what they did find them?
Let's wait.
But can I tell you something else? Do you know what they did find them guilty of the other day? Apartheid.
No, they will not.
They did.
They
did. No. You can't deny they did. So they found them guilty of apartheid. They may find them guilty of genocide. But my point is, many people think that what is happening is genocide. You're saying they only kill civilians by mistakes. How do you justify that? Every single university.
Have you heard
and
of the
hospital
3 Israeli hostages who were shot by our forces, by Israeli forces? What do you say about that?
What do you mean?
What do you say?
I don't think they should have been shot by Israeli forces.
Hold on. 3 hostages that Israel went there to rescue were shot by Israeli soldier by mistake. What would you say about that?
That they're so target happy, that they're trigger happy, so they shoot anyone.
You're not going to describe it as a mistake.
That's a mistake. I'm not talking about them killing
mistakes
Israel.
happening.
But the reason they made that mistake was because they kill anything on sight, and soldiers have said that. You cannot say.
Okay, I'm not happy about this interview. I want to stop.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you. Speak.
No, I want to stop. You are so anti. You are worse than Roger Waters. You know how dare you say that?
Well, I'm asking you. Go on.
You're saying that the Israeli soldiers going there on purpose to kill, just kill.
Well, I'm saying there's a.
They're not going there to rescue the hostages. Babies are hold their children.
But what I'm saying is that there is.
They are going there just to kill. You say.
Okay, let me put another question: why do you think every university and hospital has been destroyed?
Because they are ignorant like you. They are full of hatred. People hate Jews for 2,000 years. Put it in your head. It's not new. Those people come out of the closet. The war in Gaza was the trigger to get them out of the closet. They are haters. Why? Ask me why I think that.
Why do you think that?
Putin is killing children for 2 years. Do you see them on the street demonstrating against Putin? Be honest. Do you see someone? Jews were attacked in New York, in England, everywhere since the war. Putin is killing children and civilians in Ukraine. Do you see people in London or in New York attacking Russian?
Yeah, a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Show me one.
Our government, for a start.
A government? I'm talking about civilians who went to stab Jewish people in New York.
Well, I don't think anyone supports that.
Did you read the article 3 days ago was done by one of the from Holland who said we should kill every Jew on earth?
Okay, let me put another question to you then.
Can you answer why those demonstrators didn't demonstrate against Putin?
But some of them probably did.
They didn't.
But can I ask you a question?
They didn't do it every Saturday.
Do you think that
they didn't do it every Saturday for 9 months?
Do you think that
they didn't demonstrate against Assad, who's killing civilians for 15 years? They didn't do it against Yemen for 5 years. Children in Yemen are slaughtered, killed, displaced. 1.5 million are displaced, living in tents. No one is demonstrating. So those demonstrators, they hate Jews and they hate Israel.
Do you think that is why the genocide case has been brought at the ICJ then? Because South Africa hates Jews?
You know what?
Serious question.
I'm not going to answer that anymore because I've been answering it for many, many months now since the war, and I'm tired. You people don't understand what it means genocide. You people don't understand.
No, I'm saying South Africa.
You people don't understand what is the word apartheid. The root of the word apartheid, none of you understand. Apartheid cannot be conducted outside the country. Apartheid is something that the country, the state, the government of that state, conducting within the country. So now that you know that there's no apartheid within Israel against those 2 million Muslims, how can you say it's apartheid against Palestinians? They are outside Israel. If you understand the term apartheid, you will not be asking these questions like those ignorants because you are clever enough to understand that more than those ignorants. Apartheid can be done outside the state. It cannot be done outside the state, only within the state. That's apartheid. When you are apartheiding civilians, apartheid in South Africa, when I was there to cover it as a journalist in 1988, you couldn't ride a bus together with black people. Black people couldn't ride a bus with white. They couldn't go to the same GP, the same shop. They couldn't go to the shop. Do you see that in Palestine, in Israel?
In West Bank, you do.
In the West Bank?
There's some roads that are the settler-only roads.
I'm talking about buses and shops and restaurants.
Well,
be fair.
All right, let me talk
Be
about
fair.
your definition. Is
what is
okay,
apartheid?
Your definition is it has to be within a state.
That's
the
one.
West Bank. The
That's
West
one.
Bank is part of Israel, effectively, and
no, it's not part of Israel. Israel left.
But
Have
you
you
just
heard
said
of
they
Oslo Accords?
You just said they control the borders and there's settlements all over it.
Did you read Oslo Record?
Do you know what Area A is?
What is Area A?
You tell me.
No, you tell me.
It's the area that the Israelis
What is
control.
Area A?
It's the area that Israelis control, right?
Control. Describe that area. Is it
Settlements.
buildings?
Settlements.
No. Can you is it like streets, buildings, restaurants, hotels? Or it's like a field?
But it's settlements. I've been there.
Can you leave the settlement aside because
No,
they are
no,
our
I can't.
enemy? We don't like settlements either. They are the enemy
But you accept
of the
they're
peace.
there.
I'm talking about you. Describe me A.
It's
and then we go to
the
C.
The Israeli military has full control over it.
Matt, I'm going to ask 3 times. Describe
What it
Area
looks
A,
like.
what it looks
But it
like.
looks all different. That's what I'm saying. Settlements are part of Area A. I can't talk about Area A without talking about settlements.
Is it a field or hotels and restaurant and street shop?
It depends what part it is.
There's no depend. Is it
You tell
or
me
isn't
then.
it? Oh, thank you. And that's why I came here. I would like to say a lot of points, if you allow me, because we didn't get to them, to the viewers.
Go on.
When they say Israel controlling the West Bank, they don't understand it. When you look at the map, there is A and C. What is A? There's nobody there. It's a field. It's a field. Okay?
Who controls it?
That field, there's nobody, it doesn't matter who control it.
But who does
The
control
matter is who agree to that.
No, but it's important for me.
Hold
Who
on,
controls
hold on.
it?
Oslo Accord. There was many, many other things, but we don't have time now. One of them agreed between the sides. Agreed. PLO and the West Bank and all of them, that Israel will control that A.
Yes.
What is that A? It's a road, it's a field that will allow Israel to observe potential terrorists who will come to Israel, who will come to penetrate Israel to conduct some terrorist attacks. That's all. There's no, you describe it like controlling, like there's a soldier there and you say, hey, Muhammad, come here. Where are you going? No, you can't go. You want to eat ice cream? No, you can't. You're describing like that. It sounds so ridiculous, annoying.
What area are the settlements in?
I don't want to talk about the settlements because I don't like them. I disagree with them since I was young journalist, long in 1978, long time ago. I don't want to talk about them. I despise them. I call them terrorists. And most of the Israelis hold the same opinion about that.
And do you think the same about the occupation of East Jerusalem as well?
What occupation in Jerusalem?
In 1967.
67?
Yeah.
Occupation?
Yeah.
Who started the war in 67?
No, that's not my question.
This is the question. Who attacked
But there
first?
was a UN resolution 242 saying that Israel should leave Jerusalem, which is illegally occupied. No, do you accept that? I'm asking a question.
This conflict.
But this is international law.
This conflict that the whole world know about is so complicated that the world should know the real facts. And when you ask 9-year-old children, why did you fight? What the first thing will say? He started. That's exactly how I described it in the university when I was teaching at the university in Israel many years ago. The conflict, the wars, is so complicated. Many opinions, many answers. I will answer it simple and simple. The teacher calling the 2 children who were naughty and fighting, and what the other one say? But he started the war. He started. I had to protect myself. The Jews who arrived in Palestine in 1947, and before that, in 1917, after the Balfour Declaration was allowing them, they didn't have any attention for war. They were tired, exhausted, they survived pogroms, and those who arrived in 1945 survived the Holocaust. Now you tell me, you think these people want to go and fight? They want peace, they want to live somewhere, they want safety. This is the main point that the world must understand. East Jerusalem is a huge problem because it's holy. It's a holy. Because people consider Jerusalem, that's exactly the core, the main cause of this war conflict is the Holy Land. The people think that God is literally lives in Jerusalem. And he's there for sure. And if they don't fight for that Holy Land, they will committing a sin. They will not get to heaven and have 70 virgins. So that the war will continue because they believe that it's a holy place.
But what's happening now is the Israeli authorities are trying to turn Jerusalem into a unified Jewish Jerusalem, when East Jerusalem should be the capital, if you believe in the two-state solution, of any future Palestinian state. I stayed with a family when I went in East Jerusalem that eventually got evicted to make way for settlers. Do you accept that there is a kind of ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population of East Jerusalem?
No, I'm against anything that sounds like apartheid.
Well, a replacement of
cleansing. It's shivering.
A replacement of Palestinian families with Jewish settlers. Do you accept that's happening?
Let me answer
this. Do you
this.
accept that's happening?
Let me answer this way.
Yeah.
Who cares who control? Why the need of control? And this is a very good philosophy point that I would like you to think. The need to control is something primitive that is inherited in human being since we were animals. And it's animals still doing that, fighting for territory to control. Yeah. We human, we got the brains, we should stop that inherited thing. Yeah. It doesn't matter who control it. Let's live together in peace. East or West, it doesn't matter. It's a holy place that has Muslim heritage, Jewish heritage. Put them together, let's live together. And Israel respecting the Muslims. Israel in 1967, when they took over the East Jerusalem, they could wipe those places. Trust me. There was a discussion that I read later on because I was only 10 years old during the war. But when I became a student and I learned, there were discussions in the archive of the army to wipe the mosque there in Jerusalem and to cleanse.
They're doing it though.
The cleanse totally, Matt, concentrate, go back to 67.
I've been there and lived with a family that got cleansed.
Go back to 67.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 67.
Yeah, I know, but they're doing that plan.
There were a discussion to cleanse East Jerusalem.
And it's happening.
To destroy. Matt, we heard you twice. There were a discussion in 1967 to clear all those Arabs from East Jerusalem, destroy their holy places, and make it all Jewish. Who rejected? Moshe Dayan and Yitzhak Rabin. They said it will be bad, and they didn't. So they allowed the Arabs to stay there and to come and pray there. Now, when you say cleansing, you believe that? You know what is cleansing? Okay, those who committed terror attacks from East Jerusalem, they were not cleansed, they were arrested.
Can I tell you about the experience I had? So I went there in 2009. I lived with a family called the Hanun family. It was a father, a mother, and their 3 kids. They'd lived in that family, that house, that family since 1956. They were given the house by the Jordanians. They were getting evicted. I was living with them to help them stop eviction by the Israeli authorities to make way for settlers, and there were lots and lots of places like that in Sheikh Jarrah. Do you know Sheikh Jarrah? Have you heard of Sheikh Jarrah? Do you know what Sheikh Jarrah is?
Yes, I know what
and
Sheikh
what's
Jarrah
happening
is.
in Sheikh Jarrah?
Okay.
No, but just answer that question straight. What is happening? Is there a cleansing of Sheikh Jarrah?
Hold on. Let me ask you something.
No.
You visit Israel? Have you been to Israel?
I've been twice to Palestine.
Not in Israel.
Well, I had to go through Israel, but I didn't spend any time there.
What do you think Israel is a democratic country with?
No.
Why not?
Because it has a vast population which has no citizenship rights.
No, hold on.
Okay.
Do you know that there is gay parades in Israel?
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't make it a democracy.
10 other countries in the Middle East wouldn't allow it.
That's different to democracy.
So Israel is not democracy?
No. What citizenship do the Palestinians who live in East Jerusalem have?
Have you heard of the
question? Do they have voting rights?
Matt,
have
you heard of the court hearing that's happening this week about 7 soldiers, Israeli soldiers, who abused one of the terrorists who is in captive in Israel?
Yeah.
Are you following the case?
Well, there was a big protest. They broke into the prison.
Are you following the case?
Yeah.
Israel, who is not democratic according to you, is arrested its own soldiers.
Yeah.
They are still in jail, waiting for their case to be heard for abusing a mega terrorist who killed and raped children in Israel. What do you think it's not a democratic country?
No, because if it was a democratic country that had a rule of law, they'd put Netanyahu and Gallant in
Do you
in prison.
appreciate what they do now to these soldiers?
But
What the Israel justice brought them to justice?
when you're perpetrating a genocide where you're killing tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Well, have you ever heard of the medical journal, The Lancet? Have you heard of it?
You said hundreds
of my questions. Have you heard of The Lancet? It's a very respected medical journal. There was a paper in that recently that said that the casualty figures in Gaza have been massively underballed, and it's actually 186,000.
How do you get the figures about the casualties in Gaza?
Well, I'm telling you, The Lancet, which I trust, it's a highly respected medical journal, and this was a paper written by esteemed...
Where from?
Huh? It's in the UK. But
How do you get the real figures from Gaza? By whom?
But they do it, there's many different methodologies that they use.
No, there is one.
No, they're not using they didn't do it from the Ministry of Health that you're going to say.
So how they count the bodies?
Read the paper.
I need to read the papers.
Yeah.
Matt, I don't need to read anything you read because you are fed by the papers. I write the papers. I don't read the papers. I got my sources from within
the Lancet,
Gaza. I don't get my forces only from within Israel. I got it from within Palestinians.
So your best friend who lives in Gaza,
I'm
what does he say?
revealing to you a secret. My sources are not only within Israel.
They're within
I
Gaza.
got them in Gaza. The dentist and Said.
Is he still alive?
No, I said I've got friends, right?
Yeah.
Said and the dentist.
Yeah.
Imagine that I got also other friends who keep informing me the real situation in Gaza. When there was an article by the BBC who was anti-Israel about famine, I called my friend. And he posted photos. He sent me a clip showing cakes and fruit. And I gave it to the BBC. They ignored it.
So you're saying
now, you're telling me that there are hundreds of thousands of death in Israel.
Not me. The Lancet said that.
Who?
The Lancet. It's a very, very esteemed medical journal.
And you believe them?
Well, I think it's plausible, definitely.
It's possible.
But you don't believe anyone. You don't believe the World
Hold
Court.
on.
You don't believe the ICC. You don't believe the UN. All these people are saying everything I'm saying, and you're saying, well, they hate Jews.
So how come
That's not an argument.
How come you heard only about 40,000 dead so far? If you say
But
hundreds of
even
thousands.
if you're talking about the Hamas-run health ministry, which is what you're going to say, they say 40,000.
Yeah.
And the Lancet, which is nothing to do with Hamas, is saying that's massively below what the real tally is. So you're talking,
No, you said hundreds of thousands.
And
Who said hundreds
have you
of
seen pictures of Gaza City? Have you seen pictures of Khan Yunis? Have you seen pictures of Deir al-Balah? Have you seen them?
Yeah.
They're destroyed. They're gone. They're gone.
Wow, for fun.
Well, I'm not saying for fun, but do you think that people have died in those attacks?
Let me give you an example.
Do you think you can destroy that much and not kill people?
War killing people.
Yes.
Have you been to a war?
No.
You ask people who've been there.
Yeah. I've got friends.
I personally risked my life many, many times during war not to shoot civilians. My friend, the paramedic who was next to me, got shot here.
Right.
Because we stopped, we ceased fire when we heard children shouting in one of the houses. And guess what happened? We let the gun, we ceased fire, we start approaching to help those children, and suddenly from the roof, we got shot.
Right.
What are you talking about? You don't know this enemy. You have never been there. You never faced them.
So
you ask people who are facing them every day.
So do you accept children have been killed in Gaza by Israel?
Children being killed in Israel too.
No, but I'm not asking that question. Do you accept children have been killed?
Everywhere.
Do you accept children have been killed?
What do you expect them to do?
No, that's a yes/no question.
They are hiding. You forget to mention.
Do you accept children have been killed by Israel in Gaza?
Do you need my approval?
No, I'm just
Children,
asking.
women,
See,
men.
you can't even say that. It's amazing. You can't say that. We're talking about a conflict where tens of thousands of kids have been killed.
I'm saying children, women,
but
civilians
is that how
are killed.
dehumanized Palestinians are for you? You can't even say that they're killing children in Gaza.
On purpose.
Well, I didn't ask that. I'm going to ask that next. But do you accept children have been killed?
I said yes, civilians, including children, women,
and
old
they're
people.
all mistakes.
What
they're all mistakes.
Mistakes.
Was that what you're saying? That
okay.
They would never. That you can kill 20,000 children by mistake.
Let me tell you what is the reason, and I hope you will agree with that because it's fact. The reason that those children and those civilians are dead, because the terrorists, Hamas, that we are fighting now, are surrounding themselves. They use them as human shields. That's their method. It's well known over the world. They're using them. Israel, let me reveal you a secret. Israel had a chance to eliminate Sinwar. You know Yahya Sinwar?
Yeah.
He is the only one who is the obstacle for to end the war. They had 5 times or 4 times opportunity to eliminate Sinwar. They found the tunnel he is in, and when they got in, you know what he found? Him. This coward who thinks himself a hero of the Palestinians. He is surrounding himself with a belt of 25 Israeli hostages. I wish I could reveal this picture to the world. I received it from my source because some of my sources are fighting there. This picture, you have to put it in your head. Sinwar surrounding himself with 25 Israeli hostages, live. And that's how he protects himself. Now, when he sent his soldiers to fight, there's always fighting from buildings where civilians are. It was condemned by many, many officials from Qatar, from Egypt, and you surprisingly didn't read those condemns, that why they use those children as human shields. Now, the best example was that BBC didn't report it properly. UNRWA school was bombed 10 days ago by Israel. When I checked the evidence, that school, when you hear school, you relate it to children, pupils, right? That school was empty. There's no school during war, it's shut down. But the world wanted to believe that there were children there. There was not even one child. There was 28 Hamas terrorists in that school. They positioned themselves there with their weapons. Not even one child, not a woman, not a civilian. There was all 28 Hamas who were killed by that bomb, and BBC didn't say Hamas, they say Palestinians.
Okay, let me ask you a question. In that seat where you're sitting, last time we did these interviews, was a Gazan man named Ahmed al-Nouk. On October 22nd, the Israeli military, Air Force, bombed his family home, killing his father, his two sisters, his brothers.
What's his name?
Ahmed al-Nouk.
Never
You don't
heard.
know him? No. They're 14 children, 21 members of his family. They're not Hamas. They had nothing to do with Hamas. That was a targeted assassination.
How do you know
of
there's
14.
nothing to do?
Of course, they're not Hamas.
How do you know? You've been there?
Well, you're saying that there's never been an attack on a house that's not affiliated to Hamas?
Never.
Have you seen a picture of Khan Yunis or Deir Bala or Gaza City? So you're saying those 14 children were killed because they're Hamas?
They're
Or
not,
are you saying those 14 children
I'm
weren't
not
killed?
saying they're killed because they're Hamas. I'm saying Israel will not target civilians just like that. If
Well, I'm
there's
telling
no-
you they did.
How do you know?
Because I know the people, I know
Because
what
you
happened.
are fed by the media.
No, I know exactly what happened, and there was a targeted assassination of children, and they've killed tens of thousands. And there's a case at the World Court for genocide. It's not me saying it, the world is saying this. You're in the minority, and what you have evinced and what you've shown is a genocidal mindset because you don't accept the facts when they're presented to you. We're talking about a population, a civilian population, which has been decimated and wiped out. And that is not me saying it, that's what the World Court is going to say.
Let me answer you again.
Okay.
Put it in your head and your viewers. If Israel want to wipe up the Palestinians in Gaza, they will do it in 1 hour. Israel have the power to wipe Gaza, to flatten Gaza in 1 hour. But Israel is fighting according to the international law. Israel do not harm civilians on purpose. Israel do not. I served there 28 years. I have seen situations that I can be proud of that army, that there is no way that the Israeli army will harm civilians.
Do they
for no
starve
reason.
people?
Starve people.
Do they?
Where?
In Gaza, do they starve people?
Yes, they starve people.
Do they?
Yes. They torch people, they starve people, they genocide people.
But you know,
What else
the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, went
Yeah.
on TV,
Yeah.
he said, we're dealing with human animals and we will withdraw all water, electricity from a population of 2 point. Do you accept that he said that? Do you accept he said that? So you don't even accept that he said that. So where do you go from that if you don't accept? The Israeli politicians are going on TV saying we're dealing with human animals and we will withdraw all water from 1 million children. They said that, not me, not you, not anyone else, an Israeli minister.
So there's no water in Gaza?
No, but did he say that? Do
I
you
don't
accept-
care what he said. There's no water.
Well, I care.
There is water or not in Gaza?
I don't know because
I know there is.
there's not potable water.
There is water.
There's not, a lot of people are drinking seawater and they're getting many health injuries.
Poor people.
Exactly. Well,
Poor
is that your attitude?
You listening to the media too much
No,
because
you're saying
anti-
poor people. You're talking about 1 million
Obvious-
children. that
Obviously, you're anti-Israel.
No.
It's pure. You are
I'm
listening.
quoting Israeli politicians, and you won't even
You
accept
should-
what they're saying. I'm not even I'm asking you a question. Do you agree with what Yoav Gallant said? Did he say that?
I don't care what he said. I didn't hear
Well,
what he
of course-
said.
I'm telling you what he said.
No,
He said we are dealing with human animals.
Are we talking about gossips now?
No, no.
We're talking about facts.
It's not gossip.
There is water.
He's
or
a
not?
minister. He's a defense minister. and
He's not anymore. Hold on.
He's.
I don't care what people say. I care about facts. Do you think there is no water in Gaza today?
There is there's a very, very minimal potable water, and I know that for a fact, and people are having to drink seawater and getting lots of detrimental health effects from drinking seawater.
I can't believe this world. I can't believe you are so fanatic. If there's no water in Gaza, there will be dead people every day. It's summertime
But
in Israel.
the defense minister said it. Anyway, we'll have to conclude, but...
He said that there's no water in Gaza.
No, he said we will stop all water
We
going in
will.
and electricity.
We will, but you're making it sound like it is happening
But they
today.
did it.
You know, you are pissing me off. Because it's not that you have different opinion.
But I let
Because
you speak.
you're twisting the facts with such hatred without listening to the common sense that I'm saying to you. If Israel want to genocide, they will do it in 1 hour. Do you understand that in your head?
But I'm quoting international
Do
organizations.
you understand what the logic I'm using?
But do you understand what the World Court is?
You see,
But what do you want me
fanatic
to say?
people like
But
you
for
will
the world-
never understand the logic. I'm telling you one logic thing. if Israel want to, let's use logic.
Yeah.
Leave your opinions now.
Yeah.
If Israel want to destroy Gaza, genocide, no water, hunger, do you think they are capable of doing it in one day? They have the power.
Yes.
So why they don't do it then?
Because
Because they are democratic, because they're fighting with the international law, because they don't want to kill civilians, innocent ones. And that's what you could.
Okay, I've answered your question. Can you just, we'll finish with you answering my question.
Yeah.
Why do you think the World Court is why do you think South Africa brought the genocide case at the ICJ? And why do you think the ICJ have said it's plausible that genocide might be happening? Why do you think that is? Is it anti-Semitism? Or is it, or should we not listen to, what reason is it? Because I'm just quoting
You're talking about Hague.
Huh?
You're talking
the Hague,
about Hague.
the ICJ, the World Court.
Which country took us to Hague?
South Africa.
Did you study about South Africa a little bit?
Yeah.
What did you learn?
That it ran an apartheid system like Israel runs in Palestine.
Okay, let's talk about the history. They used to have apartheid, right? That's what we know about South Africa?
Yeah.
What else do you know about South Africa? The regime.
Now, the ANC.
For the past 30 years, since Mandela died.
It's ANC, it's a one-party state, effectively.
What do you know about that? Zuma, you heard the name Zuma?
Yeah, there's a lot
What
of
do you know about
corruption.
Zuma? What do you know?
That he was an anti-apartheid leader.
Anti-apartheid. What do you know about him negatively?
Well, he's on the line for a lot of corruption charges.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you, Matt. This is only one example because we don't have enough time. When I studied that, I was shocked to discover that the chutzpah, we say in Hebrew, you know the word chutzpah?
Yeah.
That the country that is full of corruption is the one who took Israel to Hague.
But you know, he's not president now, it's Ramaphosa. It's not Zuma who's president.
The court in The Hague, it's a show, Matt. Write it in your diary. It's a show to the world. We already know what will be the outcome. And read it and call me in 1 year time. There will be no charges against Israel anymore. It's a show to the world. It's a show. We know that.
Okay.
14 judges in The Hague, all of them saw the clips Israel provided from 7 October, 8 and 9. And they know what happened really there. Every day during this war, there is a special team of 4 soldiers in Israel, officers, who are gathering information from the field in Gaza and compose it and send it to the judges, to The Hague, of what really happened. So when you say they killed families and children and famine, it will all be explained through them. When they say that the school was bombed and children, there is beautiful proof there that that school was empty. There was no children there. But the whole world, like you, think, oh, there were children there. It's a school. They must have children. There is a proof, photographed proof, that school was empty. And who was there? 28 Hamas fighters who got eliminated by Israel. So that's The Hague have. You don't have that. And the world don't have that. And that's why I'm angry. Because I'm open to hear opinions. I always did. I always have. This is my nature. I'm not fanatic. I'm always open to hear. I discuss it with Muslims, with Arabs, with Christians. I discuss it with anti-Israelis in Birmingham. But the world need to know the fact, the real fact. Stick to the facts. When you fed by the media and you make your opinions towards one side only, that's not leading to a good discussion. No, it's not. Because you have to be listening also. You know, when you say Israel genociding and killing, and I'm asking you logically, they can do it in one day, and you agree. So now you think to yourself, hold on, if Israel could do it in one day with anger after 7 October, legitimate way, they didn't do it. When they killed their own 3 soldiers, you know, there is questions here to be asked. Israel conducting this war that was forced on her. Israel conducting a war that nobody else does, fighting the enemy who is embedding himself in civilians, using them as human shields. Nobody else does it. Not in Ukraine, not everywhere else, not even in Vietnam. I never read it in any warfare. This enemy is so cruel that you don't even have the idea who you're dealing with. I've seen this enemy. I fought him 28 years. How can he use children as human shields? Okay. Fight as a man. Come out of the tunnels and fight.